Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome into the Computer America Show. We are the nation's longest running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers and technology. Thank you for joining us. I'm your host, Ben Crossman, and everyone out there, thank you so much for tuning in. We have a great show planned for you today. We're scheduled, hopefully it all works out, Sandy Berger. She is, of course, our resident, I could just say at this point, just our digital assistant expert. She's very well versed in all kinds of technology, from digital cameras, laptops, you name it. She's been in the tech industry long enough to know a little bit and a lot of it about everything. But so hopefully she joins us here in just a moment. We also have computer and technology news if that fails, and we have a lot of different stories. Although I will say a lot of these stories have to revolve around Blizzard and everything that we covered yesterday. We're not going to revisit the issue. Yesterday's show, the 8th of October, if you're listening to this out of order, we dedicated the first 30 minutes to China, the public relations, the culture war, things like that. So if you're very interested in that, check out the first half of the October 8th program. Now, with that being said, everyone, let's go ahead and say computeramerica.com. That's where you'll find everything, including show notes. It will have links, articles, reviews. It will have past shows, future shows, video, audio, archive, and more. Anything and everything that we do here at Computer America, you can find on our website. While you're there, be sure to also follow all the social media links. Follow us on social media because we are active there. And it's a great way that if you want to reach out and talk to us, of course, you can email us at live@computeramerica.com, but you can also reach out on social media and we'll be sure to get back to you. Now, with that being said, while we wait for Sandy Berger, and again, we really, really, truly do hope that we're going to be able to do that, let's go ahead and do computer and technology news. Yeah, there you go. So it's brought to you by Computer America, of course. Here we go. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk a little bit about this. Okay, how about this one? This one from the BBC, and as much as sometimes we try to avoid the battery technology stories, because battery technology, so often you hear everything from this. Actually, give me just a second, folks, and let's see if we can do this. So actually, and let's see. So let's see. We're going to give Sandy a call here. Hopefully this works out just fine. Let's go ahead and mute that so you can just hear me. And Sandy, can you hear me? All right, perfect. I can hear you. Are you ready to go on? Oh, perfect. All right, so let's go ahead and unmute you. And everyone out there, as I said before, Sandy Berger, our resident consumer technology correspondent, knows everything about everything from televisions to cameras to really just about everything. As you said before, a lot about everything. And of course, lately, for the past couple of for the last couple of visits, she has, well, really over the past couple of years, she's really taken on the role of our expert in digital assistants. So once again, you can find all of her writings, all of her works. We're gonna have links in the show notes to everything. And Sandy, welcome back onto Computer America. How you doing?
I'm great, Ben. Glad to be here.
Glad that you could make it. So obviously we're going to ignore the rough start, and we're just going to go ahead and get started. So obviously, before we get started, I give a little bit of an introduction. It does not do you justice. Tell the folks why you like to come on to Computer America, and just what you like to talk about.
Well, I've been a techie for a long, long time, and I like to keep up with technology, love to see new products come out, like to give my opinion. I'm very opinionated, but when I do give my opinion, it's not influenced by the product or anything the company is giving me. It's just an honest opinion on what I think of this product, and I seem to be able to help a lot of people by doing that. My work is often posted on the CompuKiss website, and I invite all of you to come visit me there, and we'll have a great discussion today.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, with that being said, speaking of that discussion, I feel very unprepared for today's show. What did you want to kind of lead off with?
Well, I really wanted to talk about some of Amazon's announcements. Amazon made, their big announcement on hardware and software changes, and a lot of it revolved around music. So that's where I'd like to start off talking about Amazon Music.
Sure, Amazon Music, we can definitely do that. And that actually already rings a bell in my head because I'm thinking that actually my brother's a very avid user of Amazon Music, and he said that he paid to upgrade to HD, and to give a direct quote, it was life-changing for him. So I don't know what Amazon Music is putting in the water, but it at least has one big fan. So what exactly about Amazon Music? Because Amazon Music has been around for a while. It's faced I think the adoption rate's pretty good, especially because I don't think there's a version that's included with the typical Amazon Prime, like it's a separate service you sign up for. Of course, I could be completely wrong on that, but against the likes of iTunes and Apple Music and Google Play and Google Music and YouTube Music, I mean, they've had some stiff competition. It's impressive that I guess they're still around.
Well, actually, not only that they're still around, but suddenly they are moving to the forefront, as your brother said, with this HD music. I've never been impressed with Amazon Music. So this announcement that they were going to do HD music was phenomenal to me. And believe it or not, I'm a big fan like your brother is. For people that don't understand, I need to back up a bit. There is music, when you buy Amazon Prime, you do get free music. Okay, but there's not a lot of free music. You get about 2 million songs at no extra cost.
Is that all?
And 2 million, it sounds like a lot, but there were many times when you'd ask your Echo device to go ahead and play something, and she would answer, "I'm sorry, I don't have that in my inventory." So yes, you do have to pay more. It's $7.99 a month for Prime members, $9.99 a month if you're not a Prime member. But for that, you get 50 million music tracks. Now that brings Amazon up to the level of Apple Music and other Spotify, other music services that are out there. But this announcement of HD has taken them way, way above the other guys. I think we've had a discussion previously on high-res music. Do you remember that?
I think that we started that with the conversation on what's called Tidal, I think is what we talked about.
Right.
Yeah, because they're Tidal's really only claim to fame is that it's run by I think Beyonce and Jay-Z, and on top of that, it has some of the highest quality, and not in terms of not highest reviewed music, but the highest bit rate streamable music that they have. Like that's kind of their selling point. So,
Exactly.
But it's been a while, so I don't mind retouching on
Okay.
the difference between high def, low def, standard def. I mean, are people
Okay.
really going to notice a difference?
People are, I think, for the most part, going to notice a difference, but there are caveats here that we need to explain. We can start off by saying when Steve Jobs popularized MP3s as a way to listen to music, he was developing the iPod. And his main problem was that he needed to get the music small enough to fit into that little device and to fit into a hard drive. And, back then, years ago, hard drive and space on computers was very expensive. Today,
Right.
we've turned that around. It is no longer so expensive, but we still listen to the MP3 music that Jobs made popular. Okay.
Yeah.
So that music is very compressed, and it's compressed with what's called a lossy compression system. And what that means is that they discard a good portion of the original audio details of the music in order to make it smaller. So you're not really getting the fullness of the music. Yes, you can hear the music, you can hear the drums, you can identify the song, and that's why it's gotten so popular because, you can hear the basics of it.
Hmm.
But what they've done is they've removed the echoes and the way the instruments work off each other and a lot of little details like that. Now, when vinyl records were popular, it's because vinyl records are analog, not digital like MP3 music.
Right.
So vinyl records actually, there's a lot of people that are listening to vinyl now. They're being resurrected. That's because 100% of the data is retained. There's nothing compressed. You're hearing on a vinyl record just what the people in the studio heard when they made the record.
Yeah,
Okay.
and even on for everyone out there watching the video portion, we're checking out the website. But even there, they have a obviously Amazon Music Unlimited, Prime Music, and we're going to talk about all these. But right there, after Amazon has killed so many non-digital, I guess, kind of industries, they're selling CDs and vinyl right there on Amazon. Who saw it coming?
Right. Yeah, it's amazing. But after we had vinyl, then we went to CD, and a CD is compressed using what's called a lossless compression system.
Mm-hmm.
So the lossless means it retains. Actually, I'm sorry, it's still lossy, and so it takes out 25% of the sound data is retained. Okay. In an MP3, only 5% of the original sound data is retained. Isn't that amazing when you think about it?
Yeah.
There's 95% of the music is missing. Now, the human ear can only hear so much. So there'll be people who argue and say the MP3 music sounds as good as a vinyl record. But if you put it through testing, even if your ears are not perfect, you can hear the difference. So anyway, what the problem was that you couldn't stream the larger analog stuff that was like on a record.
Right.
It still had to be made digital. Okay, but there were many ways to do it in digital. However, the files were much bigger. So there's different audio formats like FLAC and those others that retain more of the information.
For a very brief moment, Computer America, because we record it here in the studio, and then I'll convert it to MP3. And when we kind of dug into this whole compression algorithm, we were like, certain distribution platforms that we use actually do offer, kind of full blown thing, because even things like Spotify or let's see, there's Spotify and then SoundCloud, which is one of them. Some of them don't offer that high def, experience. Like they'll compress it themselves if you don't compress it before you upload it. And they gave us the option to not compress it, and I was like, sure, let's do that. Upload. I don't know if you've ever tried to upload a 2 gig file to someone else's server. It takes forever,
Right.
and it's
Right.
just something
Very
that we
big.
couldn't do. Right. These files are huge compared to MP3s.
Right, exactly. And that's why Spotify and all those guys use the MP3 compression, which gives you a resolution of about 320.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's a lot less than a CD, which is at about 640. However, the 320 compression that you get in an MP3, this high res music we're talking about, has 10 times more data in it. So basically, you're hearing pretty much 90% of what was done in the studio.
Mm-hmm.
You're hearing on high res music. By the way, I have to say, I always have called it high res,
Yeah.
but the new marketing ploy is to call it HD, and that's what Amazon calls it. Now, I guess that makes sense when you think that people are used to HD TV.
Mm-hmm.
To go ahead and call this high def music, HD music.
Well, let's see. So the difference between definition and resolution, I'm sure that there is one, but def probably makes more sense for sound, and resolution probably makes more sense for visual. But I guess just high definition is people are used to it with TVs and phones and everything like that. So hey, why not?
Right.
There we're looking at the chart here that they have standard streaming, like you said, 320 kilobits per second. It's that's kind of what you can expect from all the others. This one though, 16-bit, 44.1 kilohertz, which I guess is the sampling rate, which means that you would hear something like you said, like you would hear from a CD. Isn't it crazy that for like CDs came out in like the mid to late 90s, and we've been happily listening to things that are much lower quality than CDs 20 years later.
Exactly. That's exactly where we're at. And all the streaming services like Spotify are streaming at 320. And that's the place that Amazon was streaming at.
Mm-hmm.
But what they've added is this higher resolution or higher definition music, which has a lot more definition to it. So basically, if you're listening on good equipment, and we need to get into that later,
Right.
but if you are listening on good equipment and you hear MP3 music and then you hear the high res or HD music, you can definitely hear the difference. And as your brother says, wow, it's so amazing. It will blow you away. It really will. It's that you hear more, but more than that, it's that you can feel the music. If you close your eyes and you just listen, the music resonates through your whole body, which it doesn't do with an MP3.
I really do feel like they're, back in the day before I listened to music, obviously, but when records were more of a thing, this idea of an album actually meant something, and you would have, songs that were meant to be played one after another. Like it was, the arrangement of an album actually mattered because you would kind of go on this, I don't want to say journey because that sounds a bit too hippy dippy, but you would go, it would be the experience that the artist wanted you to feel when they listened to your music, and music has not been like that. And I'm sure a lot of people, ever since the shuffle button, music has been good enough, and there's no real symmetry when it comes to listening in a row. So I can see how someone who's grown up with the shuffle button and MP3s would be very I guess wouldn't understand the difference at first until they tried it, I guess.
Well, I think that's right. This is something that you have to try to really understand it. And there are a lot of studios out there that are now just cheering because the average person can get this high def music. As you talked about, they're big files. The data is huge. Mm-hmm. So most people can't listen to that on a what was considered an iPod or whatever. But they can listen through streaming. Now, there have been other places like Tidal who streamed HD music.
Yeah.
However, for the really high quality music, they were up at $25 a month, and the selection was not as large as Amazon's is. Now, Amazon has added this on millions of their tracks, so it's not like you play something and then, oh, that didn't play in high res. A lot of it really does play in high res. They did a great job when they introduced this. No doubt about it.
Yeah, I've noticed that about a lot of different services that have come out lately. The price points have been very competitive, and I know that we're probably not going to talk about Apple Arcade, and some of the other Apple and Disney Plus came out with their pricing scheme. Everything seems, a couple, 25-30% less than I think what a lot of people were expecting the subscription models to be. And I guess for Amazon Music HD, I'm reading here from this article, $13 a month for Prime members, $15 a month for everyone else. And that's just for Music HD. I think you get both the Ultra HD and the high definition. Like, the only difference between the two is that the Ultra high res music, like you said, there's only millions of Ultra high res music as opposed to 50 million high definition tracks.
Right. Exactly. There are, in Ultra, there's less, but they're still developing more and more as we go and putting them out as Ultra. Are you familiar with an artist called Neil Young?
Yes, of course.
Okay. Of course.
Yes.
You know him from his singing, his songwriting, all that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. Well, I met him about 5 years ago. I think it's about 5 years ago at CES. And he had a high-res or HD music player that he had developed. And that music player was called the Pono. It looked like a Tubarone box. You know what I mean by say Tubarone? It's like three-sided.
Toblerone. There we
go.
Yeah.
Chocolate box.
Yeah, yes.
But it was a three-sided device that was bright yellow. And it was the first high-res device that I've ever seen.
For anyone watching the video portion, I just found one on, I just did a Google search for Pono portable music player. There's one used on eBay. If you can go snatch it up real quick, it's about $200 including shipping. Man, this thing is, he came out with this about 4 years ago?
Yeah, exactly. And he did such a good job. He actually wrote a book about it. It's called To Feel the Music, A Songwriter's Mission to Save High-Quality Audio. Mm-hmm. He has been working on this for years and years, and he really, truly believes that he needs to save high-res audio, not just bring it to the people. Bring it to the people is, of course, one of his big challenges. But he says that the music itself is dying off. As the music companies only do MP3s, then the regular music that's in the archives now will eventually die out. So I met him. He had his product there, and I was very impressed. Mm-hmm. However, it was very expensive at the time. I don't really recall the cost, but we're talking like $500-$600. And what he had to do to make this viable is put out his own high-res streaming place on the web. So he partnered with somebody to do that, and he had this all set up, starting to really go, when Apple came in and bought the company that he was using for the sale of the tracks online.
Right.
And that killed him. I mean, he had to just say, okay, forget it. It's not worth it. But I can see from what's gone on with Amazon that he was still working on it in the background, because he actually I have a quote here from him on Amazon HD Music. When the announcement was made, he said, "Earth will be changed forever when Amazon introduces high-quality streaming to the masses. This will be the biggest thing to happen to music since the introduction of digital audio 40 years ago." And that kind of sounds like what your brother said. Oh my, this is really going to be great.
Yeah, it's and really the change that needed to happen. I mean, I appreciate that Neil Young saw a gap in the market and he was trying to fix it with Pono. And of course, it's such a deep rabbit hole that you come out with a product and you think you're done, but turns out not so much. But I can appreciate what he's trying to do. We just needed those advancements from larger companies, and like so many things, that advancement had to come from Microsoft, Amazon, Google, whoever runs the networks, and being able to, I guess it's not just, obviously you've been able to stream 320 kilobits for a long time. But for the average person to have access to internet that can stream 8 megabits per second at a time, or 4 megabits, whatever the Ultra HD is, that would have completely capitalized a lot of people's internet access 10 years ago. I feel like the internet just had to evolve for lossless audio to have to come back.
You're absolutely right. The internet had to go to a certain place. They had to have a way of adjusting the stream, and this is very important. So if your bandwidth could take the whole stream, you could get it. But if not, it would go back down to 320 or whatever your bandwidth could handle. Now that's a major thing, because it had to actually test the music as it came through, test your equipment and so that was a major thing. And you're right, it just had to all develop correctly as we went. And now it's there. And I am thrilled that Amazon is taking advantage of it.
So my next question for you is that with Amazon coming out with this, and at $15 a month, $13 a month, whatever, Amazon sells a lot of different products. But for the sake of our conversation, let's go ahead and talk about kind of the digital assistants, because that's kind of their ecosystem that they're wrapping themselves up in. Does Amazon have a product themselves? And I'm thinking on, in the lines of their digital assistant. Don't want to say the actual word, but do they have a product, do you think, that is capable of Ultra HD music? Because that's been one of your criticisms of Amazon, and one of your, kind of, what Apple and what Google are doing correctly is that, the speaker quality is much better in other products.
Exactly. And up until this point, I put Apple aside because Apple has to have Apple Music, and a lot of people don't have that. So I really think that the competition is between Google and Amazon. And up until this point, I have always said that if you want to listen to books and you want to read books, go with Amazon, because they've been fantastic as far as their bookstore and the things that they give. Okay, so Amazon's there. But I would always say, go ahead with Google if you want to listen to music, okay? And that was because Amazon, the place that you can store your Amazon Music, they only allow you to save about 300 songs or something like that. They used to allow more, but then they cut that back. I never did understand why, but maybe this is the reason why. And also the speakers, the Google speaker, they have Google Max speaker, which had much, much better sound than anything that Amazon had. Now, that's why I was almost in shock when Amazon was the one who announced this HD music. However, the next week, right after that, they came out and announced their new speaker. And their new speaker is going to be called the Echo Studio. It's going to be able to handle high-res music. And it's coming out on the 7th or the 14th of November. So it's a full-blown Amazon Echo, and it will handle the music. And in order to handle them, when I say handle the music, they have to build in things that can support HD streaming. Up until now, the things that could support that were called high res. And most of the speakers or receivers were high res. And I actually have a bunch of Sony high res products because I've always been interested in this.
Yeah.
But the devices that Amazon had, they're Echo speakers from the second generation, and their new TV device, which is interesting, the Fire TV 4K, the newest one, it can also support this, so you can play it on sound bars and things like that.
I'm
So
and by the way, just later on in the program, I'm gonna have to pick your brain about that because I'm officially cutting the cord, and I took my TV in my room blew up. There was smoke and a big bang and
ooh,
whatever. It was fun, but it was one of those super cheap 32-inch TVs that you get on Black Friday. But anyways, I'm gonna put a new TV in there. I don't want a cable box. I'm just going to get either. Well, up until this point, I was thinking a Chromecast, but I might be interested in the Fire Tick or the Fire TV stick as well. So maybe a little bit later in the show we can talk about the differences between
okay.
the two. But to kind of stick with this, and by the way, Sandy, since you've been on, we kind of changed our format a bit. If you need a break to catch your breath or drink some water, that's fine. But we don't have any more mid-roll commercials. We're just straight shot, no commercials, just all Computer America show. So if you're waiting for the commercial break, not going to be coming. So
Glad to know that. At least I'm prepared.
right. So with that being said, and for anyone watching the video portion, we pulled up the webpage on the Amazon on the Echo Studio, which I was actually kind of curious because at the bottom of the page, they the first logo that they have listed there, they have all of the different speaker makers and all everything from Bose, Sony, Polk, Sonos, all those that they recommend. But of course, the first one that they recommend was the Echo Studio, which I had never heard of, and I guess this is why. It's
not available yet.
yeah, but I mean, you can see the internals of this thing, very reminiscent of what is it the Google Home Max, I think?
Max, yes.
Yeah, very reminiscent. I mean, I'm glad that they came out with a device that could utilize, this HD music.
Yes, I mean, they almost had to do that because while some people do have things that can handle high res, not a lot of people have it.
Mm-hmm.
However, if you're streaming over Blu-ray, there are two codecs that you need to have, or one of two. It's called aptX, excuse me,
Mm-hmm.
or Sony LDAC. Those are wireless standards that give you the best quality HD reproduction. You'd be amazed to find that your phone might already have that. So you have to look it up, and if your phone has that, then your phone can play this music, and you can cast it if you have Wi-Fi throughout your home. You can cast it to your different devices. So I can take my Galaxy Note phone, I can play Amazon Music on it, and I can actually cast that to all my high-res devices throughout the house, which I have a receiver and several speakers, and the sound is phenomenal. So you might already have, and also some TV soundbars already have high-res qualities built in. So I think that with this big announcement from Amazon, we're going to be seeing more and more high-res capable things. To make a device high-res capable does not cost the company a lot of money. We're talking 50 cents or something like that.
Really?
So I think that we're going to see more and more devices be able to handle this. And of course, it depends on speaker quality. So the better your speakers are, the better the music's going to sound. I mean, that kind of goes without saying, doesn't it?
Yeah, but then there's that plateau effect where I've heard all this stuff about tube amps and stuff like that, where you can spend thousands or tens of thousands of dollars on your equipment, and at that point you get into those weird terms like warmth and stuff like that. That I think that audiophiles I'm not saying that they don't hear a difference. I'm not saying that they're crazy. I'm not saying that they're not crazy though, in that it's very much a personal preference. And if they hear a difference, good for them. But I'm wondering to you. This new Echo Studio device is going to be about $200. Sonos and Sonos and Bose and all these other companies will sell you speakers anywhere from like $100 to all the way up to like $800 or $900, even beyond that. What would you say is kind of a good price point that people should look into to get into HD music?
Well, I think to try the Amazon Studio, the Echo Studio.
Mm-hmm.
I can't wait to try it. I've already requested one from Amazon. And if they don't send it, then I'm going to probably go out and buy one. Don't tell them I said that.
Gotcha.
But the idea here of what is happening is that they have lowered the cost. Yes, you're right. People have in the past spent thousands of dollars, and even today can spend thousands of dollars on the audio equipment. And whether it's worth the price or not is up to them. But this brings really good quality music down to the everyday person. So for $200, if this Echo Studio is as good as it looks, and I think it's going to be, for $200, you can actually hear the high-def music in all its glory. And you can make a pair of them for stereo. So for $400, that's like a drop in the bucket compared to what people have over the years spent for speakers and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually pretty phenomenal. And after Amazon made this announcement, so first they announced the HD Music, then they announced the Echo Studio, and at the same time with the Echo Studio, they also announced that they're going to be supporting Dolby Atmos. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that. Atmos is the sound system that is used in movie theaters.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
And this music, this plain $12.99 a month streaming music is going to support that. Now, what Dolby Atmos is the sound comes from the ceiling, all right? So if you have a speaker now, or you have a Dolby Atmos setup, let's say, in your house, you would have speakers in the ceiling, which gives you like a 3D surround sound on top of the HD music. But the Echo Studio is going to have, instead of a surround sound like you have to put something up in your ceiling, they're going to have a speaker that shoots the music up to the ceiling. It will bounce back and give you the same effect of having a speaker in the ceiling. So I have not heard that yet. I'm amazed that they're doing it. They're remixing. Dolby is remixing thousands of tracks of music. I think they only have 50 or 100 right now that are in Dolby Atmos. But they're remixing thousands of them. And this is going to be available again through the Amazon Music at no extra cost.
I will say that I have heard of that technology, and I know that a lot of different companies have been working on it. One of them was Bose, and when we talked to them
Right.
with one of their first sound bars, I recall that one of their demonstrations was that they had the sound bar in the middle of a room, and they would have a journalist or someone go into the room and point to a corner or part of the room, and they would fiddle with the settings, and then they were able to broadcast the sound as if it were coming from wherever they pointed. Obviously now you don't need a couple of guys in lab coats to come to your house and do
Right.
this. It's all automated and digital, but it's possible. It's just traditionally been for like $2,000 sound bars, and I guess for Amazon to do it with one or two of these things, that's a very welcome thing. And obviously with movies, is this going to be connected to televisions? I mean, I don't know many people who stream movies to their Amazon devices.
Yeah, definitely. The Amazon, like I said, the Amazon Fire TV stick, the 4K one, the new one that came out, and I think it's running about $50, is going to support this. And you'll be able to connect that Fire TV stick to either your soundbar or your speakers or to the Amazon Studio. So you're going to be able to get the sound and actually hear it. And that's the amazing thing, that they're doing this and they're bringing the costs down so much. Now, when I say that they're going to remix, Dolby is going to remix tracks, what that means is they have to go back to the studio and see where the music was coming from, or where it would probably be best coming from. I'm not sure how they do that. But as you said, where they pointed to different areas and it could come from different areas.
Right.
That's what the Dolby Atmos does. It allows the music to completely surround you. And so that's why they call it 3D, because the sound is coming three-dimensionally all around you.
Echo Studio seems like a very, obvious bump up, and I mean, it looks like a really. Do you know that for the $200 price, and I know that it's still going to come out? How does that compare to Google's offerings?
Google Max is the only thing that, compares. Google Max sounds great, and you can do high res over Google Max. But it costs $399. It has since the day it came out. Now, maybe you'll be able to find Google Max at cheaper prices now.
Looks like they changed it to $299. Just a heads up from the Google store.
Okay, all right. Well, then that's just a recent reduction.
Yeah.
Which they've had to do. There's no doubt about it. With Amazon selling their new one for $199, they had to at least come close to meeting that. And Apple's home device, I think, is still at $399, although that might have come down to $349. But those are the devices that have more music. Now, when I first heard this Amazon announcement, I was like, oh, gosh, that's terrible. The high res is going to be Amazon Music, and I have Google devices. So what am I going to do?
Yeah.
That means I can't play music over some of my Google devices. Then I remembered that Google devices, the one thing that they have that Amazon doesn't have, is you could do things wirelessly, which is what you mentioned, the Chromecast. If you have a Chromecast on your TV, it's wireless. Now, my TV, I have a Chromecast on it, and I also have a receiver that does high res. So I can take my little phone, which also supports high res, and I can play music on my phone, cast it to the TV, cast it to my Google Max, cast it to everything around the house, and I'm getting high res everywhere.
So what you're saying is, where there's a will, there's a way, and
I'm saying it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. These two music services, they somehow meshed, even though they weren't aiming to.
That would probably be thanks to standards and I'm sure Bluetooth or Wi-Fi, whichever one you're connected to, which is, again, another reason why whenever new standards come out, we love to talk about those here on the show. But, I mean, that's great. Also, to that point, I was actually wondering about that, because if you have these fancy new speakers from Amazon, if you already are a fan of, let's say, Tidal, which, like we said, broadcasts in HD as well, can you do other services through that device, and natively? And by the way, does Echo Studio or will it, or Echo Plus, support Tidal or Spotify or any of these?
I don't know about Tidal, because that is a separate service that's kind of unusual. I will say that the Amazon devices as well as the Google devices all support things like Spotify. Okay. Now, with Amazon, they are going to be supporting, obviously, their Amazon Music, and you can play the music directly from there. However, Google is not going to be supporting Amazon Music because they've got their own YouTube things and things that they're looking at. So that's what I mean when I say it's amazing that I can play this Amazon Music on my Google devices through Wi-Fi. And Wi-Fi, to be honest with you, is much better than playing through Bluetooth.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, you get a longer connection. When I say longer, I mean wider. Bluetooth only goes for 30 feet, I think it is, and Wi-Fi can go for at least 100 feet.
Right.
Also, you get a more stable connection. So as you sometimes hear Bluetooth going in and out on Wi-Fi, if you've got a good Wi-Fi service coming into your home, you get a standard steady rate, so it's much better, and it's also a larger tube as you might envision it, so you can play more data at once. So Wi-Fi is superior, which is why one of the reasons I went with Google for my music, because it does play it over Wi-Fi, but now I can play Amazon Music over Wi-Fi. It's amazing.
Yeah, and so with the service, and by the way, is the service out today or obviously November for the for the studio device? But the music is
November
available
for
today.
the studio device, but the music is already available. And what they're offering is 30 days of the high def service. No, 90 days.
90, yeah.
90 days free. Now that's if you don't have Amazon Music at all, because Amazon Music, if you belong to Prime, is $7.99 a month. So if you belong to Prime, you're already an Amazon Music player. They'll give you the additional, what is it, $5 a month?
I think it's $13, and then it's $15 if you're not a Prime member.
Okay. But in any case, if you're a Prime member and you already have Amazon Music, you will still be paying your money for Amazon Music, but they'll give you 90 days of the additional service.
Right.
If you are not yet an Amazon member, you will get the whole thing, I believe, for 90 days.
Yeah, no, and it definitely makes sense. Do you think that this will cause the other streaming services to really take a good hard look and see if ultra HD or high definition music is, kind of worth getting into? Because this is expensive. I mean, Amazon is one of the largest companies in the world, so I think they have the resources to do something like this. But, I think that this is really possible for Amazon because they have Amazon Web Services, which has tons of servers and bandwidth and things like that. They're just massive on their own right. They're able to make a lot of deals with music producers and the whatnot. I mean, Amazon is in a very good position to do this. But do you think this is going to push other providers of music to start offering HD music?
I certainly hope that it will. I can't guarantee that. I think Google is working very hard to get up to snuff against Amazon. So there's a good possibility that Google will do that. However, you do make a good point. This is expensive. There's massive storage involved here, and Amazon has it. Now, Google has it too, but are they willing to invest in this? I don't know. Apple, I find very interesting. I don't think, and this is just off the top of my head, I don't think that that Apple is going to go toward high res. One of the reasons is because they actually, when Neil Young made his streaming service on, I can't remember the name of the company, but the streaming service, Apple bought them out and didn't do anything with them. Okay, so Apple already owns some high res stuff as far as services and website and that, but they didn't do anything with it. They actually stopped Neil Young from doing it. So maybe they were thinking that they wouldn't have to pay the extra money that Amazon is paying to do this. And it'll be very, very interesting to see if Apple ever comes out with anything high res.
Well, a quick Google search, and this happened over the past couple of months. It looks like Apple will be introducing and has introduced something called Apple Music has launched Apple Digital Masters, which is a revamp for Mastered for iTunes. Obviously, Apple killed off iTunes. That's no longer really a thing, which is just, hey, why would you kill off iTunes? But there you go. Apple Digital Masters. And they say that as of, let's see, I think this was in the past month, so actually in August of this year, 75% of the top 100, or I guess 75 songs of the top 100 were actually Apple Digital Masters, which can broadcast. Let's see, I'm trying to read here. 192, whatever, maybe. Here we go. 24-bit 192 kilohertz FLAC encoded tracks. So, I mean,
okay, well, that kind of answers your question then.
They have it. It doesn't seem to be its own individual service. It seems like as they're uploading content where they can, it looks like they're trying to do HD, but it's not a full-blown service like the one Amazon is offering.
Right. And so I do think after hearing that, I have to say that there's a good possibility that other companies like Spotify and the others will actually get into this. Now, how much they're going to offer it for, I hope that they would be able to offer it for the $12.99 that Amazon. And when I say $12.99, I know it's a little bit more.
Yeah.
What, $2 more if you're not a Prime member.
Right. By the way,
I don't. Go ahead.
And I just want to say that the fact that you hadn't heard about it, I don't blame you, because I hadn't heard about it, and I'm reading this from digitalmusicnews.com. They're saying that Mastered for iTunes collection is being translated into a streaming-based Apple Digital Masters catalog. Apple says it's been quietly working on the transition for quite some time, and it's ready to announce the project's completion. But essentially what they're saying is they've been doing it with little to no fanfare. Like, they have not been talking about this. They've not been advertising it. I guess they're being very cautious in saying that we have HD music because 1 in 4 songs that you listen to on the top 100 are not going to be HD music. So I guess it's not enough for them to advertise it yet.
Okay, well, you could be right, and that gives an indication that that the high-res HD music is going to be around now, and I think what Neil Young said, he said that it's going to change the world of music. Then that's very, very true. By the way, you mentioned 24-bit and 192 res and all that.
Yeah.
That is called FLAC, which is a high-res or a HD area. So that's not the one that they call Ultra. The one that Amazon is calling Ultra, where they have thousands of tracks already in Ultra, is better resolution than FLAC. So it's even better than, sounds like anyway, it's better than what Apple is doing.
Right. It's very, very interesting. And again, mixed with that, I mean, Amazon doing this, it really shows that any part of a business that I think Apple or Google are getting into, Amazon wants to be there as well. And like we kind of started out this whole conversation with, you never really associated Amazon with music because I think Apple and Google had you covered in most regards.
Right.
But like you said, Amazon is really pushing their efforts.
And they've certainly taken the lead here with this new way that they're doing it. I think it's great. But I guess I have to say that I think that Apple is going to, if they're already doing this, they're going to keep on doing it. You mentioned at the beginning of the segment here about Amazon selling music, selling CDs and vinyl records.
Yeah, they do.
Okay. And vinyl records, we know right now, are making a comeback, and I think that will continue. But I think that Amazon is looking at the future and saying, what happened to music when we went to CDs and MP3s, and I think that it's all going to be now that they go ahead and they're looking at the future because CDs are going to go away. I mean, streaming is going to take over everything eventually. Don't you think?
Yeah, that was a conversation that I remember having with Craig many a time on the show, which is that we saw going from vinyl to cassette to CD to Blu-ray, and now I guess the ultimate transition is the transition to completely digital. And obviously there's been a couple of holdbacks, like you mentioned, with bit rate, sample rate, that kind of thing. But as soon as we have the capability in digital to do what I guess it's like the last holdout, that vinyl has better fidelity. Like that's why people like vinyl. As soon as digitally you can recreate that with no compression, there is zero to no reason other than personal preference or nostalgia, which are something you cannot bank on, consumers having all the time. As soon as you kind of close that gap, yeah, as much as vinyl's coming back, as much as CDs are coming back, weirdly enough, they're going to go away once again.
Yes, I think so. And the only reason that vinyl made a resurgence is because people finally realized that MP3 music wasn't giving them the satisfaction that they needed. Now, my husband has a huge vinyl record collection, and he has 2 Bozak speakers, which are from the 60s and are still working beautifully. And so you can hear the music of the vinyl records. It's really a nice setup, but he's not giving that up. I mean, he's listened to this high-res music.
Yeah.
He loves it. And by the way, I have a set of Sony headphones that have the high-res capability. And you put those on and you listen to the streaming music, it's absolutely amazing. So he's heard that, but he's not going to give up his vinyl. He'll listen to that,
so
whenever. He still wants to be able to put it, and I think that's a bit of nostalgic too.
Yeah, no, it's completely nostalgia, and I will say that speakers are one of those things that I've upgraded a lot of parts of my computer, the processor, graphics card, motherboard, blah, blah, blah. There's a lot in technology that changes year over year. But there's a reason that I'm still using some fancy Logitech speakers that I got. It's like 5.1 surround sound. I'm still using them when I got them back in like 2006 or 5 or something. It's because speaker technology hasn't really changed. I mean, like, there's not I'm going to upgrade the speakers when, you were mentioning like the Dolby Atmos and, other kind of automated software solutions. That is going to be the change. It's not like there's any hardware change that's happening with speakers. So your husband, working with those speakers for 50 years, it makes complete sense because, speakers are about as good as they're going to get. Like, they need a lot of space, and the ability to play sound is, just the ability to play sound. There's no hardware advancement. So he probably has some of the best speakers by hanging on to those.
He has some of the best speakers for vinyl records, but the difference is you will have to, or you might want to replace your speakers, even purchasing a couple of these Echo Studios, because you do have to have things that will handle high res
because of the
and
software
handle
improvements.
Dolby Atmos.
Yeah. So because of the software advancements and that kind of thing, like, that's the only reason you would upgrade, which I definitely need to as well. I actually just upgraded to I say upgraded. I was going to write a review on 2 new monitors that I was able to pick up, from Acer, and I'll just say the name of the monitor. But I don't think I'm going to, because I did not anticipate a certain aspect of the monitors that I really don't like. It has kind of like this after image, like when you see things moving, like it works amazing for web pages and email and, very static kinds of things. But when you watch any kind of motion, it leaves like this after image. And it's probably like the screen refresh rate or something like that.
Exactly. Yeah. You get a 60 hertz refresh rate. Some of them only have a 30 hertz, and then you get that.
I could have sworn it was 60 hertz when I looked at it, but I think digging into the settings, I think it's only 44 hertz. And boy, does that give me a headache sometimes. So I'm going to not say anything at all if I can't say something nice. But
oh, you're nice. See, I won't do that. If I really don't like something, I'll go ahead and say it.
Yeah, well,
because you know what, Ben? Because I don't want people to go out and buy it and then be disappointed in it. Now, if they don't care about the refresh rate, then that's another thing. But they should at least know about it.
I'm strictly using these 2 monitors for productivity. I mean, my main monitor is something completely different. But, Your wise words have maybe swayed me. I probably should write something to say that they're good for productivity, not good for entertainment, which is
Exactly.
probably how I feel about these things. But with that being said, we have like a minute left, and I wanted to pick your brain just one more time. I am looking to put a television in my room, and it's going to have a streaming device, but it's not going to have a cable box. Fire TV, Fire Cube, Chromecast. What do you recommend?
Roku has just come out
And
with a
Roku.
new one, and I like the Roku setup the best. I think find that as being the easiest to use. But the 4K Fire Stick, and you have to get the Fire. They're still selling the regular Fire TV stick, and it's less money. I think that's $25, and the 4K one is $50. However, the 4K will upgrade your signal even if you don't have a 4K TV. Now, you're probably going to buy a 4K TV.
Yeah.
So buy a 4K stick, and I have found some of them available on special deals for $25. So I actually bought 2 of them recently and put them on my phones, on my TVs.
Very, very nice. And Sandy, I think next time we have you on the show, I'm going to do some research. You'll probably do your thing, which you do very well. Let's do like a little holiday gift giving guide of, best products for all these different categories, and just kind of put something together for December, if that's okay with you.
That sounds great. I'm
Perfect.
on it.
All right, perfect. And everyone out there, CompuKiss.com. We'll have a link in the show notes. Sandy, thank you so much for doing this. I know that's a bit out of time, but you did wonderfully. And everyone out there, thank you for tuning into Computer America. I'm your host, Ben Crossman. Sandy Berger, correspondent. She'll be back. Everyone, have a great day. Thank you so much. Catch you next time. Bye, everyone.